Britain for gusts of wind through Friday night and into Saturday of 60 to maybe 70 miles an hour. Some disruption is likely from this storm system. All the weather warnings are on the Met Office website.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Blinds close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. Yes. Terrorism on the streets of Manchester.
We can confirm that 2 members of our Jewish community have sadly died as a result of this attack.
But the pro-Palestine mob have no shame.
Viva, viva Palestina! Viva, viva Palestina! Viva, viva Gaza! Viva, viva Gaza!
They're back out tonight, taking over train stations. Disgusting. Sir Keir Starmer has spoken.
A vile individual committed a terrorist attack that attacked Jews because they are Jews.
But have politicians fueled anti-Semitism?
As Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the state of Palestine.
And why did we let this problem into Britain? On my panel tonight, got former Conservative Gillian Keegan, the former Education Secretary. We've also got political commentator Chloe Dobbs and former Labour advisor Matthew Larser. And even today, the BBC are banging on about the far right.
Briefly, you mentioned the far right. Obviously, there's just been an increased temperature in political language, hasn't there?
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. We let the barbarians in. Next.
Good evening, it's 2 minutes past 9. I'm Katie Bowen in the GB Newsroom. Continuing coverage of the terror attack in Manchester throughout tonight, but in other news today, Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley says he will not resign following a BBC Panorama investigation which reveals Met officers making racist and misogynistic comments. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has described the footage as shocking, adding that the Commissioner needs to be very robust in his response. The footage appeared to show some officers at a central London police station calling for immigrants to be shot and brag about using violence against suspects. Sir Mark Rowley said people in London can trust the vast majority of the force's officers, adding that he was horrified by the documentary. Elsewhere, Sir Keir Starmer says there will be no golden ticket to settling in the UK under plans to require refugees to earn their right to stay long-term. The government plans to end automatic family union rights for those granted asylum in the UK and change the requirements for long-term settlement. New applications to the existing refugee family reunion route have been suspended since September. While the plan, backed by up to £3 million, will include encouraging people to stay in the region and take up jobs there. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood says she will set out reforms in full later this autumn that will see refugees face a longer route to settlement.
Well, look, we've inherited a real mess from the Conservatives. Firstly, open borders. We saw 400 cross in 2018, over 150,000 since, an immigration system that absolutely ground to a halt when it came to processing, and an unfair system. So it wasn't a level playing field. So what we're seeing here from the Prime Minister today is making it clear to those who are in Europe looking to claim asylum that we're not a soft touch. And that you can't shop around. So we're levelling that playing field to make it fairer for the people of Britain, but of course offering that help to people that need it.
And Baroness Michelle Mone has said that she will not step down from the House of Lords as she accused Chancellor Rachel Reeves of using dangerous and inflammatory language about her. It comes as Baroness Mone was ordered to repay millions of pounds for breaching a COVID-19 PPE contract. The Chancellor is reported to have joked that the government had a vendetta against the Conservative peer during a fringe event at Labour's party conference this week. In a letter to the Prime Minister, Baroness Mone accused the Chancellor of endangering her and her family with the comments. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now let's return to the latest from Manchester today with Patrick Christys.
Good evening. This needs to stop now. That was Leeds this evening. These people have no shame. That's from Glasgow tonight. As I speak to you, there are protests that we've seen in Manchester, Leeds, London, Leicester and Glasgow. On today of all days, it's disgusting. Armed police at Christmas markets, bollards along pavements, airport-style security at large gatherings, primary schools practising lockdown drills. Why? Islamist terrorism. But nobody feels this more than the Jewish community in Britain. Today, this happened, and a warning, this is distressing.
We've killed him. Hell, Lucas.
Everybody else, get back! If you're not involved, move back! Get away! Somebody stay with casualties! Everybody else, he has a bomb! Go away!
He's got a bomb on him! He's got a bomb! Mate, he's got a bomb! He's got a bomb
jacket, mate. He's trying to go in and... now. He's got bombs on him.
2 dead, 4 critical after a bearded man wearing a fake explosive device rammed a car into Jews outside a synagogue in Manchester, then tried to slaughter as many as possible with a knife. Do you have security at your church? I live near the Islamic Centre of England, where the imam is apparently appointed by the Ayatollah of Iran. Never seen any security outside there. Why do Jewish schools and synagogues have to have security? It's because of how many Islamist terrorists we have in Britain. For me, this attack was very close to home. I went to school a few miles away from the attack. My friends had their bar mitzvahs at that synagogue. One of my friend's grandparents was attacked and is apparently still in hospital. Sir Keir Starmer said the attack was a shock.
The attack in Manchester this morning is absolutely shocking, and all of our thoughts are with those affected. I'm on my way back to London. When I arrive, I will chair an emergency COBRA meeting.
I spoke to my friends today. It's not a shock. I want to tell you what they told me. We've had swastikas painted at Jewish cemeteries. Jewish shops have been attacked. We have to live with the threat of Islamic extremism every single day. We all knew something was going to happen because we've imported people from countries and cultures where they are taught to hate Jews. Another lad I went to school with works in the NHS. He hides his faith, not just from patients, but from his colleagues. He feels that if his colleagues in a wonderfully diverse NHS found out that he was Jewish, that he would face persecution. Another friend of mine lives just a few doors down from the synagogue in Manchester. He's too afraid to let his girlfriend walk to work nearby in case someone notices that she's Jewish and attacks her. Here's another quote for you from my friend's mum who lives nearby. Sir Keir Starmer can save his platitudes. He's a weak leader, and weak leaders create weak countries. People with his political views and ideology have emboldened lunatics who want to kill us. Jews from Manchester could set up a colony on the moon and they'd still come for us. At my old school, there was always a large Jewish contingent. Now, I spoke to one of my old teachers a little while ago, and he told me that Jewish parents weren't sending their children there anymore. Instead, they were sending them to the Jewish school King David. Why? Because there's more security. They feel as though they have to put their children inside a ring of steel just to get a safe education. When I was at school, there'd be busloads of lads coming from places like Whitefield and Prestwich, very Jewish areas. Now, I never once remember any of them saying that they had to hide their faith, that they had to hide their kippah or their Star of David necklace or whatever. They do now. Why? Islamist terrorism, anti-Semitism. This, believe it or not, is Manchester. Now, you and I might see footage there of people celebrating Pakistan Independence Day, but one Jewish friend who would describe himself as being, quote, visibly Jewish, told me today that he sees that as a no-go zone. One friend who lives in Crumpsall said to me this morning, "That's it, I'm leaving, I'm taking my family to America. The Jews are leaving, they're not safe, and let me tell you, they are the canary in the coal mine." One more quote for you here, it's just from another mate of mine. "The Jews in Manchester have been here for a long time. By and large, we've all integrated. We pay our taxes, we work hard, and we've done quite well for ourselves. So the Diversity Brigade doesn't class us as vulnerable, but we are. Britain has bent over backwards for the Muslim community. But I tell you what, we've let the Jews down. And I can bring you right now some breaking news. The man who carried out the Manchester synagogue terrorist attack has been named by Greater Manchester Police as 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami, a British citizen of Syrian descent. I'll read that to you again. The man who carried out the Manchester synagogue terrorist attack has been named by Greater Manchester Police as 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami, a British citizen of Syrian descent. That's his picture on your screens right now. Let's go live to GB News reporter Anna Riley, who's at the scene in Manchester for us tonight. Anna, that's a significant breaking news line there that we're just getting through from Greater Manchester Police, which both names and gives the descent of the attacker.
Yes, Patrick, we're now able to confirm the police have said that although no formal identification is yet to take place, the person responsible for today's attacks is 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami. He's a British citizen of Syrian descent. Police have also said that in relation to the investigation that they're carrying out, that this investigation continues, that 3 suspects are currently in custody. They've been arrested on suspicion of commission, preparation and instigation of acts of terrorism. The ones arrested are 2 men in their 30s and a woman in her 60s. Scenes remain in place, as you can see behind us here. Those scenes are on White House Avenue, Crumpsall and Langley Crescent, Prestwich, which are also linked to the arrests. Police have also said that the suspicious device worn by the attacker during the incident has been assessed and was deemed not to be viable. Police have also said, based on what they currently know, their records do not show any previous prevent referrals relating to the individual. They say 3 other men remain in hospital with serious injuries. One sustained a stab wound and a second was struck by the car involved in this attack. The 3rd man later presented himself at hospital with an injury that may have been sustained as officers stopped the attacker. Police say that they're working to formally identify those who have been tragically killed and provide support to their loved ones, in addition to the wider community. They add as well that they are looking into the motive of this attack as well and finding out further information. And we've been here throughout the day, Patrick, speaking to people in this community and been told that they say that people have been killed here as Jewish people just for being Jewish.
Anna Riley, thank you very much. And Anna's going to be at the scene for us as well. So any more developments and we'll go straight back there. Just to recap, the man who carried out that Manchester synagogue terrorist attack has now been named by Greater Manchester Police as 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami, a British citizen of Syrian descent. There are 3 suspects currently in custody and have been arrested on the suspicion of commission, preparation and instigation of acts of terrorism. 2 men in their 30s and a woman in her 60s. Let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. We've got former Conservative Minister Gillian Keegan, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, former Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. OK, that breaking news line then is that it's a man believed to be of Syrian descent. And, you know, I'm just going to ask you, Gillian, have we let these very, very dangerous ideologies and cultures come to Britain a bit too freely, do you think?
Well, I mean, dangerous ideologies and cultures are all over the world and all over the internet, right? So they come here. But it is very sickening, and it does remind me when I was Education Secretary. It was just after the 7th of October. And the Jewish community from that moment have been very fearful in this country. And all of you showed some of the marches, some of the protests, some of the intimidation, whether it's been in schools, universities, even nurseries. They have security on nurseries. Just talk to me about
that. So Jewish nurseries where toddlers go, where babies go, they have to have security.
Yeah, Jewish schools of all ages. The Jewish Students' Union, we met with them just after the 7th of October attacks. They were telling us all of the stories about intimidation on campus. So there has been a huge uptick, massive increase in anti-Semitism and threats that the Jewish community, I mean, we can't say because we don't feel it, but they feel it. And, you know, you hear all kinds of things, you know, they wear the Star of David, girls being talked to by bus drivers. So it's all of our responsibility to call this out, because there's not that many Jewish people in our community, 300,000 or so.
Look, I'll say this now. There's big questions for me about the nature of this statement. A British citizen of Syrian descent. What I want to know about that, and I hope we do get this detail, is does that mean that he is from Syria, was born in Syria, was potentially brought over here as some kind of refugee and we've given him a British passport, which would, of course, in the legal sense, make him a British citizen, or was he born in Britain and, say, had Syrian parents? Those pieces of information are absolutely vital and we need to get that from the police. But just your reaction here, Chloe, anyway, to that breaking news. Jihad al-Shami, British citizen of Syrian descent, appears to be the man who carried out this attack.
Look, we don't know, as you say, we don't know if he was born here, we don't know exactly how he came here, if he was born in Syria, but what I will say is I've been in Syria and there are many, many Syrians who are in a lot of pain and a lot of poverty, but there's also still a very prevalent ideology of ISIS there and various other terrorist organisations, and when you allow people to come through illegally, unvetted, through our borders, we don't know who's coming through, we don't know exactly who this guy is, but what I fear after seeing what's happened today is how many other people coming from countries that do have ideologies like the ISIS ideology and other groups prevalent, how many people who want to commit an attack against Jews and anyone who's considered an infidel are going to come through illegally because they know they won't be vetted.
Yeah. It's just utterly disgusting. But I spoke to several members of the Jewish community just around the corner there, as you will have just heard, Matthew. They're not shocked, are they? They seem like they knew that this stuff was inevitable.
Well, I think, to be fair to the Prime Minister, it was shocking rather than he was shocked. I think, sadly, we've all known, the threat that there has been, as Gillian was saying, since October the 7th. I think both under the government Gillian was part of and under the new government, extra resources have been given to the Community Safety Trust, which is the Jewish-run organisation that protects synagogues and other Jewish sites. You saw the guys out there they have CST on the back of their jackets. We saw that today. I think one of them actually has already been praised by the police for their actions. So, I mean, I think it is. I think it is shocking. I don't think it is a surprise.
See what I think is disgusting, and we can take this now. I believe there are pro-Palestine marches taking place now. OK, so they're happening in at least London, Leeds. At the one in Leeds, they were still chanting death, death to the IDF. We played you a clip of that earlier on. There's been some in Manchester where the attack has happened. There's some in Glasgow as well that we're seeing. I mean, have these people got no shame, Gillian?
I mean, it is dreadful to be doing this and to be doing this today. I don't know if they were already planned, but if they were, they should stop those plans. I mean, we had a lot of discussion about this. We had a lot of COBRA meetings about this. We had a lot of discussion with the police about what they should be doing, because trying to get the line between the right for peaceful protest but intimidating others, particularly specific communities, is one that we were never convinced that the police had got right, and we were always sort of having this discussion about whether they had the power or not to be able to, for example, deal with some of the protesters which go too far. And that's probably still a live discussion now, I would imagine. We were saying the police do have the powers, they were saying they didn't. So that's something, though. But to see these marches on our street, it doesn't, do you remember these? I don't remember any of this when I was growing up. No, there was none of this sort of huge sort of pro-Palestinian sort of rallies. It's all kicked off since October the 7th, and we're in the UK. We're not in Gaza or Israel.
There are other factors to this that some people anyway, seem uncomfortable talking about, which is that in the last 10 or 15 years, we've had rapid levels of immigration from a lot of Middle Eastern, Arab and South Asian countries where views about Israel is one thing, but where actual naked, pure anti-Semitism and Jew hate is not just said, it's encouraged. And then when we import that to this country, we expect things to change and things to be different, do we? We've let this in, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just when it comes to anti-Semitism where we have gone backwards. It's homophobia, for example, feminism. You've got a lot of people coming from cultures where they think that homosexuality is a sin. They think that women should be covered up. And a lot of them do not like Jews and are anti-Semites. And I just think it's crazy that we had Jews flee to our country from Nazi Germany, and now it feels like we're heading back towards that because we've imported a culture that hasn't gone through its reformation like Christianity has.
Matthew, I think we've bent over backwards for the Muslim community in this country. Have we let the Jews down?
Well, I think clearly there is a huge issue about the safety and security of the British Jewish community even before today's tragic events. Look, on the protests, I am shocked they've gone ahead tonight. I would say two quick things on that. The British Transport Police had the option to not have them because these particular protests, because they're actually about the Greta Thunberg, we may come on to that sort of flotilla issue, so therefore they're targeting transport. They're at railway stations. We saw people marching through railway stations, a kid on a skateboard board gets quite rightly stopped when they're trying to go through the unions aren't allowed to march like that, quite rightly, when they're on strike through a railway station like that. And that's to do with the railways. Why has that been allowed? The BTP should have stopped it, and the Chief Constable of the British Transport Police has got a lot of questions to answer. And just can I say one thing? On the one in Leeds, I hope that our old friend, the Deputy Leader of the Green Party, who was, of course, elected as a councillor in Leeds and did a Gaza protest the night he was elected, I hope he wasn't there, so there are questions to be asked there too.
Well, yes, it's one to watch. OK, look, just quickly, a reminder for you, very quickly, of that breaking news that the suspect has been named as 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami, who is a British citizen of Syrian descent. 3 other suspects are in custody on suspicion of the commission, preparation and instigation of acts of terrorism. 2 men in their 30s, a woman in her 60s. We will give you the breaking news lines as we get it here, and there will be some, so make sure that you stay with us. Coming up... That's happening right now. Pro-Palestine protest at a train station, the very same day that 2 people were brutally murdered at a synagogue in the city of Manchester. But was this horrific attack earlier today inevitable? Were there countless warning signs completely ignored? I'll find out. I'm going to speak as well to a Labour MP next. Stay tuned.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Briefly, you mentioned the far right. Obviously, there's just been an increased temperature in political language, hasn't there?
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight, and that was how the BBC chose to react to the vile attack on a synagogue in Manchester today that we now know was committed by a man called Jihad. More on that later, but first, I'm joined now by the local MP, Labour MP, Josh Simons. Thank you very much. Tremendous to have you on the show. Firstly, I know that this was an attack that will have been quite literally very close to home for you. Are you OK? Your family OK?
Thanks, Patrick. Yes, they are okay, but they're deeply shaken. You know, our family have gone to this shul before. We've attended festivals there, bar mitzvahs, and it shocks you to the core, to be honest. And the whole community's sad. They're frightened. And the thing I just kept thinking about was my kids. I will get home tonight and hug them that little bit closer.
Absolutely. Now, look, the campaign against anti-Semitism has released a statement. It's very strongly worded. I do just want to put some of that to you. So they have said, the blood of British Jews is on the hands of virtue-signalling politicians who have poured fuel on the fire of extremism with their posturing and appeasement. I can't help but wonder whether or not they might be talking about some of your Labour colleagues.
The blood on the hands of the people in my community is on the hands of the terrorists, and we should call this what it is. It was a terrorist incident. People today killed Jewish people because they were Jewish. My family fled Europe almost 100 years ago because they were fleeing violence, persecution, degradation, and they came to this country, to Manchester, to the north of England, because they were welcomed and it was a home for them. And that's what they've done. They've contributed to this country. They fought in the war to keep this country free and safe, and they've contributed to this country by starting up businesses. And they today have been frightened. The fear of God has been put into them by a terrorist, and I think we should never ever lose sight of that. Most people in this country are not terrorists. They are good, law-abiding people, and these people were terrorists.
There are currently pro-Palestine protesters marching in Manchester, near-ish, where you are. Should they be ashamed of themselves tonight?
Well, I've not seen any pro-Palestinian protesters, and I have to say it's deeply distasteful if they are around the corner from here. There are families just down the road that I know very well who are sitting at home around the table tonight. And today, you know, we must not forget that today's Yom Kippur. For those who don't know, that is one of the most holy Jewish days of the year. And it is no accident that this vile terrorist chose that day to murder Jewish people for no other reason than they were Jewish.
We've got a little clip here. It's a decision that Sir Keir Starmer made about the recognition of a Palestinian state. I just want to remind ourselves of what he said. I think we can play that clip.
As Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the state of Palestine.
Some criticism this evening that doing that whilst Hamas is still in charge of Gaza might have helped to embolden radicals like the one we saw today. Was he wrong to do that?
Well, let me just say two things about that, Patrick. First of all, we must never, ever forget to distinguish between criminals who commit acts of terrorism, who should be banged up for the rest of their lives, and policy decisions about what's in the national interest of this country. We can have political debates about what the right thing to do is for Britain, and we should do that. But when acts of terrorism are committed, when people in my community are murdered, it is the terrorists we must hold responsible, and it is them who should be banged up. But let me just say something about the policy. The Arab League this week have come out and said that Hamas must never have a role in the future governance of Gaza. And that is a shift from where they were even 2 weeks ago. And the reason they have come out and said that is because of the work that the government has been doing. I have family and friends who were connected to the October massacre, and I would never want the terrorist organisation Hamas to be involved in its government. And now the Arab League is saying exactly the same thing.
OK, look, I've just spoken to some Jewish friends in that area. As it happens, I went to school just down the road from there. So you might know them actually as well. Some of them had their bar mitzvahs there. But they said to me they've been racially abused for wearing the kippah, the Star of David, out in public for years. They have had security outside Jewish schools, outside places of worship. Jewish cemeteries in the area have been vandalised, swastikas painted on headstones. They have said to me that they feel as though, in part, this is to do with the mass importation of people from countries where the hatred of Jews is at times actively encouraged. And there's a man here of Syrian descent. We don't know the specifics of that yet. Are they right? Have we been too lazy about some of the cultures, maybe, that we've imported, do you think?
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Patrick, and I hope that they don't know anyone who's been affected by what happened today. I mean, let me just tell you this story. After I was elected, I represent a working-class constituency, Makerfield, in Wigan. And a few days after I was elected, I was called by someone who told me that a plot had been foiled where Jewish people were going to be murdered outside a synagogue in North Manchester, and that the two people who were charged with that plot lived in my constituency. I represented those people. And that immediately, as you can imagine, a few weeks after I was elected, put the fear of God into me and my family. And we should not have to live in a country where I, as an elected representative, where this community that I'm standing in right now and that you know well, nobody should ever be afraid. It is outrageous. I went to the Jewish theatre up the road a few months ago, and outside were the Community Security Trust defending that theatre, as they do every single time that Jewish people gather together. And we should never, ever have to live in a country that does that.
Just very finally, and I'm aware, thank you for standing out in the rain for us this evening. I do appreciate it. One more question with you, if that's OK. Sir Keir Starmer gave a speech in Downing Street earlier today, during which he said various things about going to put his arms around, we are going to put our arms around the Jewish community, make sure they feel safe. Look, I think quite a lot of people now are sick of hearing the old phrases like diversity is our greatest strength, don't look back in anger, you know, we can't divide us, all of that stuff. They do want action. So what action does this Labour government need to take now for you?
Well, firstly, we need to make sure that the Community Security Trust, who, as you know, do so much to keep our communities safe, are properly funded. The government has increased their funding last year, and that needs to be maintained. So we need to make sure that the people who keep Jewish people right across this country, not just here in Manchester, are properly funded. But also, we need to make sure that communities across England, particularly in the northern towns that I live and know so well, are integrated properly. It cannot be the case that neighbours who live half a mile away don't speak the same language, haven't gone to the same schools, don't have a shared sense of history, and we have to care about that community cohesion. It is really, really, really important that at the end of the day in this country, the test I always think about is, do you believe that your neighbour down the road, if we went to war, would stand next to you and fight alongside you? And we have to build a country in which everybody who is British and everybody who lives here has that confidence.
Josh, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I know it's both a very significant religious day and also a very significant day in terms of the terrible events that have gone on in your community, so I appreciate you taking the time for us. Josh Simons, there's the local Labour MP. We've got a lot to get through tonight. Again, that breaking line for you was that the suspect has been named. He's a British citizen of Syrian descent. What I want to know there is does that mean he was born here, or did we give him a British passport? Was he, for example, a Syrian refugee? We don't know yet. Coming up... That was the moment firearms officers shot dead that suspect. Let's talk to a firearms officer about what goes through their heads and whether or not that firearms officer, I mean, goodness gracious me, you see it happening in Britain now, don't you? Is he going to get in trouble for shooting that man dead? Stay tuned for...
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you'd like to avoid Storm Amy and you're looking elsewhere across Europe, well, it's also unsettled in Greece and Turkey. Some very wet weather, as well as strong winds blowing through here. Those outbreaks of heavy rain will move through during the weekend, but certainly Friday's a soggy day. Italy, having seen that wet weather earlier in the week, turning drier, albeit still breezy. Plenty of fine weather through Iberia now, sunny spells, and for much of the Mediterranean, it is turning drier through the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Pretty wet and windy tonight across the northwest, and tomorrow night could be a notch higher thanks to Storm Amy. That storm is brewing out in the Atlantic, still a way away, but intensifying as we go through the night. Ahead of it, tonight. This low is already causing some problems in Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, some heavy rain here. This band of rain will then swing its way across England and Wales. So pretty much all of us will see some rain through the night, may get woken up by that and the gusty winds moving in with it as well. With the wet and windy weather, it will be a warmer night compared to recent nights across the south. And then a bit of a respite into tomorrow, but Storm Amy isn't too far away, already starting to push in across Northern Ireland for tomorrow morning. The things, though, will, at least for a time, be a little calmer across Scotland after some wet and windy weather tonight. Still clearing from the Northern Isles in the morning, but here comes Storm Amy, spreading rain. At this stage, fairly light rain across Northern Ireland, extending into parts of Western Scotland during the morning. Still some of the overnight rain across the southeast, so it could be a wet start, especially in Kent, but that should be clearing away. And then we'll have a lull, a brief period where things are a bit drier before the next zone of rain comes in. Getting heavier through the morning across Northern Ireland. Rain warnings are in place for the northwest for Friday afternoon and into the evening. That rain spreading across most areas by the end of Friday afternoon. Temperatures in the teens, but feeling cooler than that with the wet and windy weather. Let's deal with the winds then, because they're really going to pick up as we go through Friday evening. You can see the swirl there. That's the storm system. Amber warning in place from 5 o'clock on Friday across the northwest of Scotland, where gusts of wind may exceed 90 miles an hour. A yellow warning covering much of northern Britain for gusts of wind through Friday night and into Saturday of 60 to maybe 70 miles an hour. Some disruption is likely from this storm system. All the weather warnings are on the Met Office website.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is the holiest day, as you say, in the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur, and a lot of people would have been worshipping at that mosque at the time. I haven't been able to speak to anyone directly, but looking around, there's a lot of extremely concerned people around here. Obviously, worshippers from the mosque are a crowd.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. That was a Sky News reporter referring to the synagogue where the attack took place earlier today as a mosque. Twice. Remarkable stuff, that really, isn't it? Again, that breaking news for you that we now know a bit more about the man who carried out that vile attack that killed 2 Jewish people. He is a British citizen of Syrian descent. He's called Jihad al-Shami. Which apparently translated means Holy War the Syrian. So potentially some people are pointing out that, you know, there might have been signs there. He is now dead. He was wearing a fake bomb. Police shot him. But on that note, Greater Manchester police officers have been praised for their swift response to the attack earlier today. They received reports of a car being driven towards members of the public outside that Heaton Park Hebrew congregation at 9:31 a.m. By 9:37 a.m, they declared a major incident, and by 9:38, they'd shot him. So, pretty impressive stuff, really, from the firearms officers. I'm joined now by former Specialist Firearms Officer Tony Long. Tony, thank you very, very much. What will have been going through those firearms officers' minds when they get to the scene there?
Well, obviously, they have to assess it. You know, they've got an intelligence build-up, and you've already described that. You know, what would have been coming over the radio was the fact that there was already victims, people have been run over, perhaps, and obviously they're confronted by the suspect. I don't know at what stage, you know, I don't know what was going through their mind, in all honesty, because I don't know whether they picked up immediately on what appeared to be a device. But they clearly made the decision that he was a threat and engaged him. You know, this type of situation is exactly what they train for. And, you know, they performed extremely well. And, you know, as a former specialist firearms officer, I'm extremely proud of what they've done.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in those situations, do you shoot to kill or do you shoot to immobilise with a view of potentially keeping that person alive to get more information down the line?
Well, once you've established the fact that you think he's got an explosive device, then you would be taking a critical shot. You know, you would be shooting to kill him effectively. It goes against most firearms training, in which case you shoot to stop. And normally you go for the largest part of the body. Ideally, if you think he's got a device and that he might trigger it, officers are trained to shoot for the brain, and specifically the brain stem, because effectively that's the body's computer, and you want to switch that computer off and disconnect his ability to trigger a device.
So when they got there, look, this is from the footage that we've seen. I'm sure you've seen the same footage. It appears that he was shot once and immobilised a bit. And then this is what we're looking at on the screens now. So obviously we've blurred him out, but he'd been shot there at that point, as far as we're aware. And then he tried to get back up. And then they've taken, as you would describe it, the critical shot. Now, when there's a debrief here and it turns out that device was an imitation explosive device, is there any chance at all that these two officers are going to find themselves up for some tribunal saying, you know, these ridiculous cases you hear of where, you know, they shouldn't have been shot him or something like that?
I'd like to think, and there's plenty of examples of this, that in view of the fact that people had already been injured, in view of the fact that this was a terrorist situation, that they will be, or should be, in an ideal world, absolutely fine. If you look at the officers that shot the killers of Lee Rigby, the Prime Minister was sending them back to Tampers the next day. If you look at all the other incidents that we've had, particularly in London, Westminster, Borough Market, all of those, the officers were treated very, very fairly.
They were, look, Tony, thank you. I'm really sorry to cut you off there. We have got another breaking news line I'm going to bring you, but thank you very, very much. Tony Long there, Firearms Specialist Officer. Right, here's the breaking news. 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami, a British citizen of Syrian descent who carried out that attack in Manchester, entered the UK as a very young child and was granted British citizenship in 2006 as a minor. Now, that was one of the big outstanding questions, wasn't it? When they say he was a British citizen, was he born here? Was he really British? Or did we just give him a passport? Well, now we know that 35-year-old man was born in Syria, came to Britain from Syria as a young child and was given a British passport in 2006 when he was a child. So that is what they mean when they say he's a British citizen of Syrian descent. I'm going to change that and say he's Syrian. He's a Syrian man. He was born in Syria. He came to this country. We gave him a passport. I'm sorry, that is a Syrian national who happens to have a British passport. That's the latest. I have got a lot more information coming for you. At this time of night, after these kind of incidents, you get a lot of information coming through thick and fast from our security services. So this is the place to be for all the latest breaking news. Coming up. That's a pro-Palestine protest on the streets of London on the very same day that attack was happening. I'm going to be talking to GB News presenter Josh Howie about that and to find out what he makes of the Prime Minister's statements next.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health, Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. Now, that breaking news that came to us literally just 2 minutes ago is that the attacker is not British. He is Syrian. We gave him a British passport in 2006 after he came to this country as a child. So we have imported a jihadi called Jihad. Joining us now is Josh Howie, GB News presenter. Josh, can you react to that breaking news line for us, please? I mean, Jews have died today at the hands of a man that we allowed in.
Yeah, not surprised. And a feeling of, well, sadness for the families and the victims and and anger, the frustration. We've been calling this for years, and this is the day of reckoning. It's here. And it's the frustration of seeing parts of our media, parts of our political class just kind of going along with it and emboldening it, and the marchers, and every step we were like, this is what's going to happen. Some nutter is going to go out and kill Jews.
We have got a short clip for you of the statement that Sir Keir Starmer made earlier today from Downing Street this evening. I think we can maybe play that.
And so I promise you that I will do everything in my power to guarantee you the security that you deserve, starting with a more visible police presence protecting your community. I promise you that over the coming days, you will see the other Britain, the Britain of compassion, of decency, of love.
Josh, can you react to that?
There is now the Britain, and he doesn't speak for it. That's the way I feel about it, and I think a lot of other Jews feel about it, is that this government's recognition of terrorists, of another murder of Jews, mass murder of Jews 2 years ago, speaks to what they really feel about terrorism. Like, you know, you can't reward terrorism 1 week and then the next week turn around and kind of go, oh, I feel really bad about this thing that's happened. There is a silent majority out there. There is a great Britain out there. And I don't think that he speaks for it at all.
Have you got concerns that the Home Secretary has been on pro-Palestine marches?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, she's also quite tough on other aspects of illegal immigration. So I think that there has to be some recognition that there are huge elements of these pro-Palestinian marches that are just full of Jew haters. That's the reality of it. I've been at these counter-protesters. I've seen people who are supposedly peace marchers, by the way, never asking for the hostages back, never asking for Hamas to surrender, but there's Zeke heiling and doing their slitty throat gestures. It's, you know, calling for the globalising of intifada. Globalise the intifada. Today we saw the intifada be globalised. We saw it in America when 2 people were shot. We saw it in America when an old man was firebombed by a jihadist. We saw it in Australia where synagogues have been... Like, this has happened all across the West.
Look, what's the solution here? Because we have imported, and again, this has happened now. It's happened now. We've imported this jihadi called jihad. We've imported this, different ideologies, different cultures, where I think anti-Semitism is not simply rife, it's encouraged. So what do we do about that now?
Well, I think you saw it after October 7th. There are a bunch of mosques across this country that were putting out actual hate speech, like incitement to hate, to kill Jews. And what happened in any of those cases? Have any of those people been arrested? Have any of those mosques been in any way sort of affected or chastised or whatever? All I saw was one person who worked at the mosque got 6 months or 6 years where they couldn't work for a charity or something. This hate is coming from somewhere, and that has to be addressed. But it goes back longer than 2 years. If you have jihadists driving through North London screaming that they're going to rape and murder Jewish women and mothers and daughters, where was the CPS? Oh, you know, just excuses of like, oh, well, we couldn't identify. Of course they could have gone in and found out exactly who it was. Again, just let off every single time. There are laws in this land that can deal with this, and they are not utilising them.
I just feel like we've let the Jewish community down so badly, so badly. Josh, look, thank you. We are hurtling towards the end of the hour now. I appreciate you coming in, and you know, I hope you and your family are all right, and you know, emotionally as well, really. And
you know, this today is like the day. It's the day of prayer, or a day of looking inwards, and then when you come out of it and you see, it's just the frustration. Like this, we knew this was coming, and we have been shouting for years now, and now it has, and now I'm just trying to digest that.
All right. Well, look, I do hope you and your family are OK. And yeah, goodness gracious me, let's just remind ourselves of the moment it happened. Huge breaking news that we got in the last couple of minutes. We imported this attack. The man is from Syria. We gave him a passport in 2006. His name actually happens to be Jihad as well. There were signs, weren't there? I've got all of that and much, much more coming your way in the next hour, as well as an eyewitness account.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Pretty wet and windy tonight across the northwest, and tomorrow night could be a notch higher thanks to Storm Amy. That storm is brewing out in the Atlantic, still a way away, but intensifying as we go through the night. Ahead of it, tonight, this low is already causing some problems in western Scotland, Northern Ireland, some heavy rain here. This band of rain will then swing its way across England and Wales, so pretty much all of us will see some rain through the night, may get woken up by that, and the gusty winds moving in with it as well. With the wet and windy weather, it will be a warmer night compared to recent nights across the south. And then a bit of a respite into tomorrow, but Storm Amy isn't too far away, already starting to push in across Northern Ireland for tomorrow morning. The things, though, will, at least for a time, be a little calmer across Scotland after some wet and windy weather tonight. Still clearing from the Northern Isles in the morning, but here comes Storm Amy, spreading rain. At this stage, fairly light rain across Northern Ireland, extending into parts of western Scotland during the morning. Still some of the overnight rain across the southeast, so it could be a wet start, especially in Kent, but that should be clearing away. And then we'll have a lull, a brief period where things are a bit drier before the next zone of rain comes in. Getting heavier through the morning across Northern Ireland. Rain warnings are in place for the northwest for Friday afternoon and into the evening. That rain spreading across most areas by the end of Friday afternoon. Temperatures in the teens, but feeling cooler than that with the wet and windy weather. Let's deal with the winds then, because they're really going to pick up as we go through Friday evening. You can see the swirl there. That's the storm system. Amber warning in place from 5 o'clock on Friday across the northwest of Scotland, where gusts of wind may exceed 90 miles an hour. A yellow warning covering much of northern Britain for gusts of wind through Friday night and into Saturday of 60 to maybe 70 miles an hour. Some disruption is likely from this storm system. All the weather warnings are on the Met Office website.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then. Yeah, as I said, now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. The breaking news moments ago, 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami, a British citizen of Syrian descent who carried out that terror attack in Manchester, entered the UK as a very young child. And in fact, I'm not going to keep calling him a British citizen. He is a Syrian man that we decided to give a passport to in 2006. Also,
can confirm that 2 members of our Jewish community have sadly died as a result of this attack.
Despite that, the pro-Palestine mob have no shame. They've taken over various train stations. Disgusting. Sir Keir Starmer has spoken.
A vile individual committed a terrorist attack that attacked Jews because they are Jews.
But have politicians fuelled anti-Semitism?
As Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the State of Palestine.
Why did we let this problem into Britain? Yes, they were shouting what you thought they were shouting there. On my panel tonight, we've got former Conservative Minister Gillian Keegan, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, and former Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. And even today, even with everything going on, the BBC is still banging on about the far right.
Briefly, you mentioned the far right. Obviously, there's just been an increased temperature in political language, hasn't there?
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. We did it again. We let them in. A jihadi called Jihad. We gave a passport to. Killed Jews. Next.
Good evening, it's 2 minutes past 10. I'm Katie Bowen in the GB Newsroom. Continuing coverage of the terror attack in Manchester throughout tonight, but in other news today, Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley says he will not resign following a BBC Panorama investigation which reveals Met officers making racist and misogynistic comments. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has described the footage as shocking, adding that the Commissioner needs to be very robust in his response. The footage appeared to show some officers at a central London police station calling for immigrants to be shot and brag about using violence against suspects. Sir Mark Rowley said people in London can trust the vast majority of the force's officers, adding that he was horrified by the documentary. Elsewhere today, Sir Keir Starmer says there will be no golden ticket to settling in the UK under plans to require refugees to earn their right to stay long-term. The government plans to end automatic family union rights for those granted asylum in the UK and change the requirements for long-term settlement. New applications to the existing refugee family reunion route have been suspended since September. While the plan, backed by up to £3 million, will include encouraging people to stay in the region and take up jobs there. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood will set out reforms in full later in the autumn that will see refugees face a longer route to resettlement. And Baroness Michelle Mone has said that she will not step down from the House of Lords as she accused Chancellor Rachel Reeves of using dangerous and inflammatory language about her. It comes as Baroness Mone was ordered to repay millions of pounds for breaching a COVID-19 PPE contract. The Chancellor is reported to have joked that the government had a vendetta against the Conservative peer during a fringe event at Labour's party conference this week. In a letter to the Prime Minister, Baroness Mone accused the Chancellor of endangering her and her family with the comments. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now let's return to the latest from Manchester today with Patrick Christys.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Breaking news this evening. 35-year-old Jihad al-Shami, a man who was born in Syria, that we gave a British passport to in 2006, has been named as the terrorist. That man today killed Jews. We let him into Britain, we let him stay, we even called him a British citizen. And there he is, with a knife in his hand, a blooded knife in his hand, a fake explosive strapped around his waist, having driven a car into a group of Jews on the holiest day in their calendar, and then tried to stab as many as he possibly could. And with that in mind, can I just show you what's taking place right now in London? The pro-Palestine brigade looked at those attacks in Manchester and said, we're going to get out on the streets tonight. They've done it in London, they've done it in Leeds, they've done it in Manchester, they've done it in Leicester, and they've done it in Glasgow. They are clashing with police on the streets of London the day that Jews were murdered. Wake up. The terror attack on a synagogue in Manchester was inevitable. A man armed with a car, a knife, and what looked like an explosive device tried to indiscriminately slaughter Jews. He was shot dead by police. Now, a warning, this is distressing.
They've killed him. Hell, they're just
everybody else, get back! If you're not involved, move back! Get away! Somebody stay with casualties! Everybody else, he has a ball! Go away!
He's got a bomb on him! He's got a bomb! Mate, he's got a bomb! Man, he's got a bomb on his jacket, mate! He's trying to go in and he's got bombs on him!
This has been brewing in Britain, and our politicians and people on the left have ignored all the warning signs. The day after the October 7th attack, a Palestinian woman on a student visa living in Manchester said this.
They are full with pride. This is the first time that something like this happens in modern-day history. For 16 years, Gaza has been under blockade, and for the first time, they are actively resisting. They are not on the defense.
She was full of pride at the Hamas attacks. Musician Bob Vylan said this to an audience of millions live on the BBC.
Death, death to the IDF! Death, death to the IDF! Death, death to the IDF! Death, death to the IDF!
A man smeared faeces on synagogues. Last night, these were the scenes in London as Greta Thunberg's Gaza flotilla was stopped by Israeli forces. Was anyone arrested? People have carried swastikas and Hitler posters at pro-Palestine demonstrations. Jewish cemeteries have been vandalised. Jewish businesses have been attacked. A knifeman attacked people at a Jewish food shop.
He's got a knife, doesn't it? Yeah, hello, please.
This asylum seeker in Hartlepool stabbed a random man to death in the street as revenge for Gaza. Cinemas showing Jewish films have been targeted with demonstrations. People with Palestine flags on their cars drove through St John's Wood shouting about raping Jewish women. A visibly Jewish boy was allegedly booted out of a hospital bed in Manchester by nurses wearing Palestine badges and made to lie on the floor. We gave a former Hamas leader a council house in London. We tried to prosecute the singer of the band Kneecap for saying this. But that case fell through because the Attorney General didn't sign off the right paperwork in time. People have filmed themselves attacking Orthodox Jews with water pistols. It's all well and good Sir Keir Starmer coming out and saying this today.
The attack in Manchester this morning is absolutely shocking, and all of our thoughts are with those affected. I'm on my way back to London. When I arrive, I will chair an emergency COBRA meeting. I'm already able to say that additional police assets are being deployed to synagogues across the country, and we will do everything to keep our Jewish community safe.
That man recognised Palestine as a state with Hamas still in charge of Gaza. He was so proud that he did that. How dare he? Sadiq Khan sends his best wishes, does he? How dare he? After not condemning the naked anti-Semitism that we've seen on the streets of our capital week after week. And tonight, without missing a beat, without pausing to think whether their behaviour may in some way be responsible for the massacre of Jews in Manchester, the pro-Palestine mobs are back out on the street. They're also in Westminster. And they're in Leicester. I went to school with Jewish lads who lived down the road from that synagogue. They had their bar mitzvahs there. One of their grandfathers is in hospital. He was run over by the attacker. I walked out of my flat today, and there's a synagogue at the end of the road. And I saw Jewish families, men, women, children, babies. They were being escorted down that road by security. There were 4 police officers flanking them. There was another police car waiting around the corner. How has it come to this? Well, I'll tell you. We've allowed people in from countries and cultures where the hatred of Jews is not only common, but is actively encouraged. Our politicians and weak law enforcement have allowed Jew hatred to fester and spread like a cancer in Britain. What happened today in Manchester is not a shock. I'm sick of thoughts and prayers. It's time to wake the hell up. So thoughts on my panel. We've got former Conservative Minister Gillian Keegan, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, former Labour advisor Matthew Larser. Right, OK, yes, gosh. So, look, there's the breaking line we had last hour was that they'd named him. Now it turns out that he was actually born in Syria, and so he is a Syrian man. Does this in some way make the problem even worse, do you think, the issue even worse?
Possibly, because what's happened, and you've seen actually that build-up, haven't you, since October the 7th, 2 years ago. You know, we're just coming up to the 2-year anniversary, and you know, you can't help but think there has been a lack of leadership along the way. You know, the protests keep getting more and more blatant in some ways, but when you look at you know, the real polarisation on this issue now, and obviously you also referred to the recognising whatever it is, Palestine as a state. I mean, it's not a state, but, you know, that sort of announcement last week. All of this will be taken up by one side or another, and it will be used, and this will be another thing to add to it. So the same as Southport was as well.
Yeah, OK, fine, but this comes off, you know, people are genuinely terrified. The Manchester Arena bomber was the son of Libyan asylum seekers who somehow managed to go back and make a life for themselves in Libya whilst continuing to claim benefits in Britain. He detonated in a room full of children. This guy who's just stabbed Jews randomly there is Syrian. We see people coming across the English Channel every day. We know that we're giving out British passports to every Tom, Dick and Harry. This is what the people are terrified of, Chloe, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, how many more shocking stories do we have to have when we see that someone is in the country who didn't have to be in this country, we've decided to bring them here, has put the public in danger? I mean, remember when we had Abdul Azidi? Yep. He had, I think, 2 failed asylum applications and a sexual assault, and then claimed that he was a Christian. And then you had a mother and her children have acid thrown on them. And people look at that and think that didn't have to happen if we just had proper vetting and proper standards as to who we bring into this country.
Matthew, we gave this man a British passport. We gave this man everything that this country has to offer. We gave him the kind, welcoming, loving, open arms of this proud nation. And what's he done? He's gone and done that. Is there... We're just mugs, aren't we?
Well, I mean, you know, it's an outrage. You know, it's a despicable thing to have done, quite obviously. So I'm slightly lost for words because, you know, I think it is such a huge dilemma. I mean, you know, we have a history of giving sanctuary to people from around the world, but clearly, actually, weirdly, I was just looking at the newspapers, today's newspapers, in the break, and it said in the Times on the front page, there's the Prime Minister saying, you know, the asylum system, the entire immigration asylum system is broken. We need to fix it. don't think anybody from any political party would disagree with that. There are clearly huge issues to be looked at, and I think you're right. Look, we saw after the 7/7 attacks, we kind of had a very calm and very moderate response. I think there clearly is an anger building out there, and I think that on the other side, you've just got people on my side of the political divide who just virtue signal away. We saw the ridiculous and, actually frankly despicable scenes at Glastonbury as well, as though global politics can be reduced to a 3-word chant by a singer that until that point nobody had ever heard of. So my message to the left is to take a long hard look at what you're saying and what you're posting on. That's the left, that's not the Labour Party, because I think the Labour Party is more moderate.
Do you think that left-wing politicians, left-wing activists, I mean, what you're looking at on the streets there, by the way, is an ongoing protest in London. There have been clashes with police. I think if we could just maybe in a minute or two try to get that clip up again of the police arresting people, clashes this evening on the streets of London. But are the left to blame a bit for this? We saw so many Labour politicians and left-wing politicians going on these kind of marches, being present at times when people were being arrested for having, Hitler posters on marches similar to this, and going out and emboldening them almost. Do they have some skin in the game?
Yes, but you've got to be fair and say that's on both sides as well. So you see it on the far right as well as seeing it on the left. And, one of the things I think you have to be very careful as a politician is to show leadership, but also, and certainly not do, gesture politics like recognising Palestine as a state. That's really will have given some people emboldened them as well. But, the fundamental problem, and I know where you're going with this, but we've really got some questions to answer here. Was this person under prevent? Were they ever known to the authorities? It sounds like they came as a very young child. It's very hard to vet a very young child, and I don't know what the parents are like or what they're doing or whatever it is. But if I think about even my time in politics, we had the Afghan asylum scheme, we had the Syrian asylum scheme, we had the Ukrainian one, and we had Hong Kong, which were a lot of the big increase in numbers as well as student numbers. And you can't say that, therefore, is it because they're from Syria? How do you tell, whatever this kid was, 3, 4, 5 years old?
There's a question of whether or not we should have bothered to let any of them in.
Any of them in, full stop, but that goes back to the point we were making there about do we have any, the reason a lot of Jewish people are here is because we let them in because they were seeking asylum.
Yeah,
so that is where that convention comes from, because of the awful treatment the Jews got from Germany and many other European countries. So, it's hard to have that crystal ball in advance, isn't it?
Go on, Chloe, go on.
But I think that if you are going to, as a country, want to help people who are in need from countries like Afghanistan and Syria, you can remove a lot of the crimes and problems if you simply say we're going to take the people who most need our help, which are the women and children. You don't have all
the problems. But they're the children. This kid was a kid. So it doesn't stop a kid. And I think that's a question.
Generally
you asked it. What stops a kid in this country becoming that?
Well, I think it's about being radical.
Crimes committed by refugees and asylum seekers would be far, far lower if you only had women and children coming.
Yeah.
But this person who's done this terrible attack came as a kid.
It might indicate something that a lot of people already know and people are too afraid to say, but I am not too afraid to say it, that there are huge problems with large aspects of the British Muslim community and wider Muslim community who are rampantly anti-Semitic.
Yes. I think what we need to look at is, I worked in BBC Religion. You wouldn't remember, Patrick, because like you, I'm from Manchester. If you go down the road, the Wilmslow Road, where we saw the Pakistan independence protests, it's lined with shops. And I sent an undercover researcher in, and the sort of anti-Semitism of some of the publications in there was shocking. And so I think we need to have a whole-scale look at what is being taught in the sort of mini madrasas that we have in many British cities. What is being said in individual...
We've got 80...
Yeah, and so I think those are all... I mean, I think, we need to look at all of that, and as France has done, I think we need to have a really hard look at... Not because I think if the police said he wasn't in the PREVENT programme, so it may be that he didn't meet that threshold, but it could still be that there'd been some radicalisation, just in the sense of a pervasive anti-Semitism in certain parts of the Muslim community, obviously not all Muslims.
And I think that the moderate parts of the Muslim community need to actually stand up and call out extremism when it happens. And I understand that they are scared because we know, I mean, you've seen it with the grooming gangs and other issues, that if you put your head above the parapet, that those extremist parts of the Muslim community will form gangs and will, you know, potentially threaten your life. But I think the moderate parts of the Muslim community do need to stand up to the extremist parts, because they're ruining the reputation for the rest of them.
We've all got to stand up to this. I mean, this is a point of leadership, and all of us have to call this out. If we see it, all of us have to stand up for it. And
yeah, but
actually,
they're not called Islamophobic. I'm sorry, this is the thing.
Yes,
the reason
I agree
why
with
we've
you.
ended up in this mess is because people were too afraid to say things because they would be called Islamophobic. I've had enough of that. I mean, I'm sorry, but, you know, this is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I was absolutely appalled before the general election last year when, as part of their campaign, Keir Starmer and Sadiq Khan, I don't know if you remember, they did that sort of heart-to-heart video on the sofa where they spoke about Islamophobia and how horrific it is and how we need to clamp down on Islamophobia, but no mention of anti-Semitism.
Well, Chloe, I'm sure, you know, the Prime Minister is married to a Jewish woman, his children are Jewish. I think we can take that the Prime Minister takes a pretty firm view on anti-Semitism. Look,
I think it's shocking how little of a stance he takes on it, given he's got a.
Well, I think he's.
He's concerned about losing certain votes.
Absolutely not. I mean, you know, Chloe, look at the last election. The people he lost seats to were, you know, the so-called Gaza independents. Now, what I'd like to see is questions posed to those Gaza independents who brought sectarian politics right to the heart of the House of Commons and are part, in my view, you know, are not representing mainstream Muslim opinion, because mainstream Muslim opinion, Muslim voters are more interested in health and education, like every other voter.
Look,
but we need to not have.
We've all been doing this, right? There's trans, there's racism, there's Islamophobic, there's anti-Semitic. These things are thrown out all over social media, trying to shut debate down, trying to shut people down, trying to cancel people. That's why we had the Free Speech Act, all kinds of things. We have to fight up. We have to stand up and we have to fight against them. The reason we introduced the Free Speech Act, which I don't think has been completed, but hopefully will, is because we saw this as a problem. And everybody's shutting down and cancelling people. And these words are very easy. And, of course, you're terrified of being called a racist or Islamophobic or anti-Semitic.
Well, quite, but there's a clip that we're going to play to you as well. I think, anyway, is this the moment that the protesters clash with police tonight in London? I think so. Here you go. Well, very shortly, I'm going to be joined by a Manchester resident who lives just a few doors down from the synagogue that was attacked today. He is going to tell me, well, frankly, some very, very revealing things about that local area. I would really, really strongly advise that you stay where you are and you listen to what he has to say. Stay tuned.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Battle of Britain Day was the 15th of September 1940, was Goering's last chance to break the Royal Air Force, and really for the RAF was a key turning point for Great Britain. If we'd have lost the battle today, then Operation Sea Lion and the invasion of England would have taken place.
And tell us the significance of where we are in Hangar 42 in Blackpool. What is the significance of where we are this morning?
Well, the Spitfire Visitor Centre, or Hangar 42 at Blackpool Airport, this was the very first hangar built in May 1939. So when we had the idea that the war was coming, they hurriedly converted RAF Squires Gate, as we know it now, to from a horse racing track to an operational airfield. Blackpool was also turned into RAF Station Blackpool, and in the rest of the war it would become Europe's biggest military training establishment.
These are the planes which defended Britain.
They were, and certainly here at Blackpool we'd have had the Hawker Hurricane operating from here during the Battle of Britain, and then the run up to the Blitz.
And a new poll out today showing that 2/3 of people under 40 don't really even know what the Battle of Britain is. Is that concerning for you? I guess that stresses the importance of places like this existing for people to come and see.
It is concerning because if we think about how the world is today, if we forget about the struggles of the past, then there's a generation sleepwalking into problems in the future. So I think what we try and do here is keep the building as original as it is, and the realities of fighting on the ground as well as in the air during the Battle of Britain and the whole of World War II as well. So we tell a range of stories here, and I think it is very, very important that these private museums like this are supported, because if we lose them, we lose them for good.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Briefly, you mentioned the far right. Obviously, there's just been an increased temperature in political language, hasn't there?
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. That was the BBC deciding to react to the sickening attack at the synagogue in Manchester committed by Syrian men called Jihad, and still banging on about the far right. More on that shortly. But first, I am joined now by a man from Manchester who will be remaining anonymous, and he joins us down the line and lives just a few streets down, actually, from that synagogue. Thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. Can I just start by asking you, is this a shock, what's happened for you, or was it almost expected in the Jewish community?
Hi, Patrick. Thank you for having me on. Was this a shock? No. That's the reality of it. The writing has been on the walls for years. Incidences have gone on in the area for a long time. Graffiti on Jewish cemetery walls with swastikas and the like. Gravestones have been kicked over. And these kind of attacks have really been building into this incident today, I think.
Do you and your family feel safe? And would you mind just letting us know what it's been like to be just kind of right next to where this has happened?
Well, for the longest time, I would have said yes to the question, if we feel safe. I went to school in that area, Crumpsall and Cheetham Hill, and I mean, you're a natural born Mancunian like me. You know that area has always been a bit rough, no doubt. But something definitely feels different now. I think that inner disdain has really kind of been emboldened the last few years, especially since, the October 7th attacks. And I think a lot of that comes from, a lot of like universities where the kind of pro-Palestinian movement and the anti-Zionist movement does have a lot of anti-Semitism in it, but how it's been today has just sort of been chaotic, just completely chaotic today.
Yeah. And do you think the wider public, non-Jews maybe, I suppose as well, need to wake up to the threat that the Jewish community faces and kind of what that means about Britain?
Oh, yeah, massively. I'm not particularly observant, so I don't, quote unquote, look Jewish. But whenever I tell people that I am Jewish, I often get asked, hey, what's with all the security at the schools? What's with all the security at the synagogues? And I sort of kind of take a moment and I sort of have to look at them and I say, because things like this are a very real possibility. You don't see security outside, say a church or a mosque or a Hindu temple. This is a very specifically Jewish problem that we face, not just in this country, but in many countries in the world.
Yeah, and actually, I think it is time that people questioned that. You walk past everything from Jewish nurseries to synagogues. You have to ask yourselves, why is it that there's so much security? You know, they're not doing it for the fun of it, are they? They're doing it because there are these very, very real threats. And can I ask you this? And I know some people might think this is a bit of a controversial question to ask, but do you feel as though we have let people into Britain who hate Jews?
Yeah, so I mean, that is a big question, and I just want to start off by saying that, you know, I have lived and worked with many Muslim people for my whole life, and I want to say that I think the majority of them could not care less that I'm Jewish, genuinely. You know, that being said, I think that we would be doing a disservice to the victims today if we don't mention it, because otherwise, if we don't mention the problem, we can't address it. And if we can't address it, we can't find a solution to it. And as one of the ladies alluded to before, I think Muslims are going to have to be part of the solution to this if we are going to want to address it. This can't be an us versus them mentality. We all need to come together as British people to stamp out this kind of radicalism.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, thank you very much for coming on the show, for speaking so openly, honestly, and from the heart as well. I really appreciate that. It must have been a very difficult day for you and for your family and for the community there. So I want to say a massive thank you, and I wish you all the very best. So you take care, and love to your entire family. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right. OK, gosh. So, yeah, I mean, the lad there just... you know, just from a few roads down, really, where that was happening. Look, coming up, I've got all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and that breaking news, as you can imagine, is leading the headlines. The Manchester synagogue suspect arrived in the country as a young child in 2006 from Syria. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you'd like to avoid Storm Amy and you're looking elsewhere across Europe, well, it's also unsettled in Greece and Turkey. Some very wet weather, as well as strong winds blowing through here. Those outbreaks of heavy rain will move through during the weekend, but certainly Friday's a soggy day. Italy, having seen that wet weather earlier in the week, turning drier, albeit still breezy. Plenty of fine weather through Iberia now, sunny spells, and for much of the Mediterranean, it is turning drier through the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Pretty wet and windy tonight across the northwest, and tomorrow night could be a notch higher thanks to Storm Amy. That storm is brewing out in the Atlantic, still a way away, but intensifying as we go through the night. Ahead of it, tonight, this low is already causing some problems in Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, some heavy rain here. This band of rain will then swing its way across to England and Wales. So pretty much all of us will see some rain through the night, may get woken up by that, and the gusty winds moving in with it as well. With the wet and windy weather, it will be a warmer night compared to recent nights across the south. And then a bit of a respite into tomorrow, but Storm Amy isn't too far away, already starting to push in across Northern Ireland for tomorrow morning. The things, though, will, at least for a time, be a little calmer across Scotland after some wet and windy weather tonight. Still clearing from the Northern Isles in the morning, but here comes Storm Amy, spreading rain. At this stage, fairly light rain across Northern Ireland, extending into parts of Western Scotland during the morning. Still some of the overnight rain across the southeast, so it could be a wet start, especially in Kent, but that should be clearing away. And then we'll have a lull, a brief period where things are a bit drier before the next zone of rain comes in. Getting heavier through the morning across Northern Ireland. Rain warnings are in place for the northwest for Friday afternoon and into the evening. That rain spreading across most areas by the end of Friday afternoon. Temperatures in the teens, but feeling cooler than that with the wet and windy weather. Let's deal with the winds then, because they're really going to pick up as we go through Friday evening. You can see the swirl there. That's the storm system. Amber warning in place from 5 o'clock on Friday across the northwest of Scotland, where gusts of wind may exceed 90 miles an hour. A yellow warning covering much of northern Britain for gusts of wind through Friday night and into Saturday of 60 to maybe 70 miles an hour. Some disruption is likely from this storm system. All the weather warnings are on the Met Office website.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racist tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. Here are tomorrow's newspaper front pages, so we see how they've been dealing with this devastating attack. The Daily Mail, he was an Islamic terrorist. They've gone for horror at the synagogue, from woke police chiefs to left-wing politicians. The list of the killers' enablers is legion. They should have blood on their consciences. The Daily Mail not mincing their words. The Metro, face of hatred, and then, which is the picture of the attacker, but then the bigger picture is of some devastated, I imagine, members of the local Jewish community who were outside that synagogue. The Guardian, terrorist kills 2 people at Manchester synagogue, 4 others badly hurt. Attacker named as a British citizen of Syrian descent. It really winds me up that. He was born in Syria. He is Syrian, who he gave a British passport to. But anyway, the Eye, bravery of rabbi and worshippers saves many lives. And actually, I'm glad that someone's raised that angle of it, because I'm slightly annoyed that maybe I hadn't done that already, because it was down to the bravery of a lot of people that this guy didn't attack more. I think we'll come back to that. The Daily Telegraph, just to round us off, Israel blames Starmer after synagogue terror rampage. Oh, well, that is a pretty big line, actually, to be fair. Attacker of Syrian descent, yeah, fine. Israel has accused Sir Keir Starmer of failing to curb a scourge of a tidal wave of anti-Semitism. Well, OK, all right, let's deal with that first, then. So that's politically very bad for the Prime Minister, that there's that front page, Israel blames Starmer, Gillian, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I don't know who in Israel, because obviously the government in Israel has also got different factions, but it is bad. And but it's also, in some ways, probably not that helpful. And, you know, I'm not somebody who would ever normally sit here and sing Keir Starmer's praises, but I do believe we have to be very cautious in our language, and you can't say that on one hand and then say, oh, it's all this person's fault. So, obviously it's the fault of this person who came, who did it. Yeah. But I do agree with you, this bravery of the rabbi and worshippers saving many lives, because, I mean, this was meant to be much bigger. Right, this and whoever was plotted it, because I think there are some people who have also been taken into custody. They went on this day deliberately when lots and lots of families were worshipping at this time on the day. It was meant probably to be a lot bigger than it was. So I think that, you know, that there were some people who stood up, and obviously the police in Manchester have been praised as well. But also, I guess, you know, this headline is very, very unhelpful for the Prime Minister. But the look of pain on this girl's face as well is
extraordinary picture, isn't it?
Just
so. I think it's emerging that the rabbi
terrified in your own home is
the rabbi continued with the service, actually.
Yes.
Continued.
Yeah, absolutely. Because on Yom Kippur it's sort of services all day, and it's not like it's so. He carried on, I believe, in which I think shows remarkable courage both for him and the members of the congregation.
There is actually So let's go over to the Eyes front page. Let's go over to the Eyes front page, that's all right, because that's what you guys are doing. And it is, bravery of rabbi and worshippers saves many. So, worshippers seriously injured in the appalling attack, but there's a hero security guard. I imagine they plural, but hero security guard, they name, is praised for stopping the knifemen outside the entrance. This tells a story, though, doesn't it? Because outside all these synagogues and places like this, there are these security guards. You're not allowed to be armed in Britain. It's an offence to be armed in Britain. You can't carry a knife, you can't carry a gun, all of that stuff. So they turn up every day, unfortunately expecting an attack like this, but ready to get involved if it happens. They're people just like us who are willing to, if necessary, put their lives on the line to stop something like this. I think a word for their bravery.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely incredible that you would do a job every day where you know every single day you're going to work, you may well be killed. People who are willing to live a life of service like that. It's not just people in the armed forces that put their lives on the line for us. It's people, just normal security guards, often don't earn that much money. And the rabbi inside who barricaded the doors, putting himself close to where that attacker might be coming in to stop other people from getting hurt. This could have been a lot bigger. It's, of course, absolutely... It's hard to be positive about this, but it could have been a lot worse. And I was mortified when we heard initially that the police thought that he had an explosive vest on. We then found out it wasn't, but just hearing that and thinking it could have been hundreds killed if that door hadn't been barricaded and the security hadn't done what they did.
And the CST is a pretty extraordinary organisation, because actually they're mostly volunteers, so you've got accountants, doctors, builders, doing things during the week and come together to do the community.
And actually, if people do want to help, I've been on and made a donation, and when I was a minister and Secretary of State, we actually gave a lot more money to support the work they do. But they actually do the work as it's a charitable, voluntary organisation, and they are amazing people, and they are very clear-eyed about the threat they face, and they're very clear-eyed about why they do it, which is why they did such an amazing job today.
I just think it's so depressing that they even need this security in the first place.
That's what's shocking.
Keir Starmer has come out today and said, "Oh, we'll assure you more security." But actually, I think a lot of the Jewish community have come out and said, we have a lot of security already. We don't want to have to need more of it. We want to actually be safe and the threat in our day-to-day
2.5 years
lives.
ago, they didn't feel like this. I think this is the thing that's changed. It really has ramped up. And 2.5 years ago, I don't think we would have seen anything like that level of
And I think
security.
one of the things is on the left, what you've seen is there's an extraordinary a spat going on my Instagram at the moment between ravers for Palestine, I do not make it up, who have forced a very cool club in London to withdraw an invite for an Israeli DJ who appears to have nothing to do whatsoever with the government, because they think it's virtue signalling, and that's what ends up with this.
Can I talk about, because that is the kind of naked anti-Semitism that I'm talking about. So an Israeli man who happens to be a DJ is boycotted from a nightclub. I spoke to some Jewish friends of mine who were actually at the synagogue around the corner from where I live. So I saw them in the street earlier today, so I went outside and said hello and wanted to give them my best. And they told me about Jewish cafes where they're being flooded with negative reviews from people who've never been there, saying, this place is filthy, it's dirty, I got food poisoning, to drag the star rating down so that people don't go and shop.
I keep peeling off the hummus section in my Sainsbury's opposite my house, the boycott, this has an Israeli brand there, but, a pro-Palestinian sticker.
But this is
I mean, it's just... It's those small things which then build up, isn't it?
It's small things, but it's
all part of it.
But that's about the Jews. That's not about Israel. That's not about the Israeli government. This is about looking at someone or something, someone showing a Jewish film, a Jewish-made film. And that's not about the IDF. That's not about Gaza. That is about a hatred of Jews, Chloe, I think.
I mean, there are some people who go out on these marches and who are on the Palestine side of the war and will speak out against Israel, who aren't anti-Semitic. Yes. But I think a lot of us can tell that people use criticism of Israel as a guise for what is blatant anti-Semitism. And I'm just sick of seeing so many people out on the streets, going out and marching, saying things that they don't even understand. You have these people saying from the river to the sea, which is essentially calling for a genocide of the Israelis, which of course is including a country full of Jews, without even knowing what river and what sea they're talking about. But then they fuel this hatred and they fuel support for groups like Hamas, which I don't think a lot of them haven't quite realised is a terrorist organisation yet.
I just want to give a little bit of breaking news for you as well, which is that the Commons Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, has agreed that the flags in the House of Commons by the carriage gate entrance are to be lowered for the victims of that attack at the synagogue in Manchester. They're going to remain lowered until 8 p.m. tomorrow night. So a symbol there, anyway, of how at least our Parliament is taking this very seriously. Look, coming up, I've got some more of tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you, so stay tuned.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Are you panicking when you're in Northern Ireland when you go out and about because there is a lack of chargers?
Well, listen, I'm really pro-EV, and we've had the odd issue with broken EV chargers, particularly yesterday at both Ballymoney at Beasties and also over at Dunsily. We had issues with chargers, but the charging infrastructure is used very rarely. My mother, for example, she has overnight charging at home. She's never used a public charger, and she's had the car for 3 years.
Yeah.
So if you've got that domestic overnight charging, it's cheap. It's very affordable if you buy a 2-year-old EV, and they are absolutely the way forward. I'm a Yorkshireman. I don't like parting with my brass. I want to get cheap motoring, and for less than a penny a mile and a car for less than 20 grand to start with, you know, it sounds a bit blasé saying £20,000, but relative to what these cars are new, they're incredible value for money, and we're seeing mass adoption. There's a garage in Richmond in North Yorkshire that sells more than half of the cars they sell are electric vehicles, and that's in a rural Dales area. So it's about having that domestic overnight charging and not having to rely on public infrastructure.
Danny, where it doesn't convince me at all is, right, so I'm living in London and I want to go to see Manchester United, and I might get there, but am I going to get back down again? Or worse still, if I'm not on full charge, I'm going to miss kickoff because I'm going to have to rely on a public charger somewhere. So is that the sort of anxiety? I mean, you were talking about range anxiety there, Ellie. Is that the sort of anxiety people have? I mean, I genuinely have that. Despite what we were hearing there from Fraser.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. I'm just going to give you the last couple of newspaper front pages, and then there's actually some breaking news we want to give you. The Times, terror on Yom Kippur. They've got a montage of photographs, the body of the terrorist there with a bomb disposal man just above him, trying to see whether or not his bomb is active. Let's go to the Mirror. The Mirror is terror at the synagogue. 2 die in horror attack. Hero rabbi saves countless lives before police shoot knife maniac. The final one for us is the Daily Express. Terror on holiest day. And again, that picture of the terrorist there, who we now know is a Syrian-born man who we gave a British passport to in 2006, called Jihad. So there we go, and I'm just seeing from a source of mine, anyway, that people have tracked down what we believe to have been his social media profile, and his profile picture was a picture of a gun and a copy of the Quran. So, you know, again, there might have been signs there. But Matthew has seen something, Matthew Lars has seen something on the inside of tomorrow's Daily Telegraph. Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely shocking and just takes your breath away. The Telegraph have been out on the protest in Whitehall in Westminster in London today, and the quotes that they have gathered are just really, you know, breathtaking. So the Telegraph named the person who said this is Fiona Smith, 42, and she said, "I don't give a F about the Jewish community right now. I thought about it and I'm sorry about what happened, but the whole story and why we're here is because of what happened yesterday, brackets with the flotilla. And then there's, similar...
So just to clarify on that then, so... The Telegraph sent a report
down to the protest today, and one of the protesters said, quotes, according to the Telegraph, I don't give an F about the Jewish community right now, because they were concerned about the...
What do you make of that?
It's just inhumane. How could you say that on a day like today? How could you look at these pictures? How could you think of these two families tonight and a whole community that are absolutely terrified and say that? I don't understand. It's completely inhumane.
Yeah, inhumane. It's a great
that's
word.
a perfect word.
I mean, I would have thought that as a human being, that you see any person being killed, it doesn't matter who they are, what they believe, that you feel that in your gut and it horrifies you. But then when I saw, after Charlie Kirk was murdered, so many people celebrating his death, not feeling any sympathy whatsoever, just because they disagreed with them, I was just horrified. I thought, these people are not human. And then when I see when I hear this quote here, I think, here we go again. People think there's a horrifying number of people who think that people that they disagree with deserve death.
And people don't stop and they don't think and they don't invoke their own humanity, do they? They just think that virtue signalling is more important than the values of common decency which should bind us all.
And the polarisation of views, it just continues.
Absolutely.
And it's very, very dangerous.
I mean,
and all these small things are adding up, and it's adding up, and it's culminating.
I mean, I can't believe that they went
things.
ahead with these protests tonight. This attack happened in the morning. They had enough time to cancel the plans. And if they did then decide to go ahead, they could have at least
British Transport Police
we're going to have a minute's silence, we're going to be respectful. But no, not
and
at
as well
all.
as what these specific protests are, it's because Greta Thunberg's Gaza flotilla wasn't able to hand some food shopping to break a military blockade of a war zone to go in so she could hand some stuff.
And some water was like water cannon.
But like, this is what's, you know... I'm actually borderline speechless, so I appreciate it will not be good, especially for the radio listeners, but a borderline speechless at the idea that you've got so many people at different locations, from Glasgow to Leicester to Manchester to London, where they just clearly don't care. I don't.
Yeah, I mean that quote is clear, which is, and there's other quotes in the piece as well from people saying, basically, yes, the more moderate ones say, yes, we are concerned, but this is more important still. And I think, I think there's no but when it comes to this. And I think that, look, we've got a big test this weekend. It is up to, I would call on the Mayor of London, who's from my own party, and other authorities around the country. There should be no protest this weekend, and they should be stopped.
These people have been able to protest every single Saturday for years now.
And protest is important, but there's a way of doing it and the time of doing it and a place of doing it.
For one day.
Exactly.
And even before they knew what was going to happen today, could they not see this is a really special day for Jews? It's the holiest day on their calendar. We know that a lot of Jews feel a bit intimidated by our protests. Maybe just today.
And I think if it was the other way round, if it was on a particularly Muslim holy day, then I think that there would be, and it goes back to what David Baddiel, the comedian, called his book, doesn't it? Jews don't count.
Well, and I'll round us off by reading you out what is on the top of the Daily Mail's front page. We've got the newspaper show, so we'll get stuck into all of tomorrow's newspaper front page second. From woke police chiefs to left-wing politicians, the list of the killers' enablers is legion. They should have blood on their consciences. There you go. Well, look, thank you to my panel tonight. I know that it's been a pretty bleak evening, obviously. I would also very much like to thank all of the viewers and listeners, and I would like to pay a special thank you to the members of the Jewish community in Manchester who spoke to me a lot earlier today. Take care.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Pretty wet and windy tonight across the northwest, and tomorrow night could be a notch higher thanks to Storm Amy. That storm is brewing out in the Atlantic, still a way away, but intensifying as we go through the night. Ahead of it, tonight. This low is already causing some problems in western Scotland, Northern Ireland, some heavy rain here. This band of rain will then swing its way across England and Wales, so pretty much all of us will see some rain through the night, may get woken up by that, and the gusty winds moving in with it as well. With the wet and windy weather, it will be a warmer night compared to recent nights across the south. And then a bit of a respite into tomorrow, but Storm Amy isn't too far away, already starting to push in across Northern Ireland for tomorrow morning. The things, though, will, at least for a time, be a little calmer across Scotland after some wet and windy weather tonight. Still clearing from the Northern Isles in the morning, but here comes Storm Amy, spreading rain. At this stage, fairly light rain across Northern Ireland, extending into parts of western Scotland during the morning. Still some of the overnight rain across the southeast, so it could be a wet start, especially in Kent, but that should be clearing away. And then we'll have a lull, a brief period where things are a bit drier before the next zone of rain comes in. Getting heavier through the morning across Northern Ireland. Rain warnings are in place for the northwest for Friday afternoon and into the evening. That rain spreading across most areas by the end of Friday afternoon. Temperatures in the teens, but feeling cooler than that with the wet and windy weather. Let's deal with the winds then, because they're really going to pick up as we go through Friday evening. You can see the swirl there. That's the storm system. Amber warning in place from 5 o'clock on Friday across the northwest of Scotland, where gusts of wind may exceed 90 miles an hour. A yellow warning covering much of northern Britain for gusts of wind through Friday night and into Saturday of 60 to maybe 70 miles an hour. Some disruption is likely from this storm system. All the weather warnings are on the Met Office website.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
In the next hour, I'm going to have a series of new, fresh breaking news lines for you about that devastating attack at a synagogue in Manchester. But let's just see how the front pages have treated it. He was an Islamic terrorist. He was not a British citizen. We might have given him a passport, but he was born in Syria, and we shouldn't forget that. Also, the bravery of the rabbi on the scene, who, despite not knowing whether or not that was a real bomb, ran towards the man, barricaded people in the synagogue. The very best of us. Stay tuned. Some new lines coming your way shortly.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000. And comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16, PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.